Polyglotting with Elise. I am Elise, translator, editor, and writer with 20 working languages, and this is where we talk about languages and language learning and all sorts of other stuff, and we play games. Perfect. Okay, 3 of 4.
El hospital.
還元一級の先というのは、本当に誰も知らない字ばっかりでしょうね。私は。
Okay, we've leveled up and it is time to pick another language. Morfar är tröttare än vanligt. Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back. Greek. We're doing Greek when we get back. Ben neredeyse her gün okula giderim. Fun fact. Turkish. Hello, Shakespeare. How you doing? Fun fact, in Spanish, the word for bishop in chess is alfil. And that actually comes from Arabic. Fil. The same word fil as this. Meaning elephant, because the bishop traditionally was to represent elephant units somehow. Similarly, in Russian, the word for bishop is squab, and that also means elephant.
Ça, c'est ça, che c'est ça, non ça, c'est ça. Sol chi sa che nulla sa, ne sa più di chi ne sa. Ecco.
Bonjour et bienvenue à Hyper Polyglotting avec Élise. Moi c'est Élise, traductrice, éditrice et écrivain avec 20 ans de travail. Et ça c'est la transmission en direct ou en jeu des jeux, surtout GeoGuessr en dernier temps. Et parle des langues, de la linguistique et de l'acquisition des langues.
10-159. Haven't made a huge dent in it, but we're getting there. Okay, gonna do some Chinese now. Nej. Man. Yen. Yo. 5. Ducks are drinking wine. Bangba, okay, Bangbas is duck. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now. 10,340 out of 12,500. And as always, viewers can choose my next language for me just with a follow and a $5 to my Patreon.
Sotto le frasche del capanno 4 gatti grossi stanno. Sotto 4 grossi sassi, 4 grossi e grassi gatti. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Facile. Sì, ecco, la gente... è la cosa che mi dice la gente, sempre che scoprisce che quante lingue parlo. Io sempre avevo l'impressione, diciamo, di che non era così, non era tan così, ma poi dopo di aver visto qualche poliglota in YouTube, una delle cose che avevo scoperte era giustamente che la metodologia usata da quella gente poliglota che non avevo mai conosciuta prima, era più o meno la stessa metodologia che usavo io.
I buy a computer or quack, and here's another example. I like to point these out. For word for or, but sounds vaguely like Hogun and the hok in Hogun in Korean or waku in Japanese, and that appears it is the exact same kind of character.
Okay, let me see.
Un chasseur, ça chante chasser. C'est chasser son chien de chasse.
Der dicke Dach.
Okay, der dicke Dachdecker deckt dir dein Dach, drum dank dem dicken Dachdecker, dass der dicke Dachdecker dir dein Dach deckt. Hola y bienvenidos al directo de Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. Yo soy Elisa, traductora, escritora, editora y comunicadora social con más de 20 idiomas de trabajo. Y aquí vamos a estar jugando videojuegos, sobre todo GeoGuessr, y hablando de idiomas, la mejor forma de aprenderlo y caleta más. Zwei Zwetschgenzweigen zwitscherten zwei tschechische Schwalben. Tres tristes tigres tragaban trigo en un trigal en tres tristes trastos.
Oh, I see. This is Diche Ishai Fui, which means do you want food? But yeah, are you hungry? That kind of thing. How are the boys? Cocine da boy. Posso Milao. Pote. Buenese. Proteine. Utros.
Hello and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I'm Elise, translator, writer, and editor, and YouTube and Twitch creator with 20 working languages, and this is the stream where we talk about languages and we look at the best and worst of language learning resources and commentary and stuff online, particularly on YouTube, and we play games such as GeoGuessr. Let's get stuck in, shall we? Get all these bloody windows where I need them. Okay. Uns gaan. Basicals. It's actually 24,991 was my best score. I've been saying 24,911 for, like, I think a couple of months now. Okay, that looks very much like an Irish flag. Kilometers an hour. Okay, that looks... Okay, those are good signs that we are in the 26th county. Possibly up in the border counties, like Monaghan. Oh wait, okay. So we're on the N80 between Portlaoise and Carlow. So, goodbye Newfoundland. Well, Labrador, really. Oh, there's Portlaoise, home to one of Ireland's most notorious prisons. Ah, here's the N80. Excellent. So, Tullamore. Alleged home of the beer. Okay, there's Carlow. So hang on. Portlaoise and... So we're between Portlaoise and Carlow. And we are... Ah, bollocks. Right by Ardlius. Yarlach. Portlaoise. like Moirer. There's the N8. And I guess 18 kilometers from Arles. Okay, so Port Licia is the west. And Friechmoor to the west of Port Licia. Or no, to the east of Port Licia, rather. Yeah, which we necessarily would have to be in order to be to the west of Carlos, so that doesn't help us much. But let's see. There's a plowing competition. Let's see. R427 to Weilenwekera. Or Weekera, I think it might be. Okay, so what was it? R427. Oh, hang on, that wasn't what I was trying. R429. Cool Henry. Cool Rain. Get all sorts of weird things when they anglicize Irish place name. Vickerstown. Ballachmore. Ballintubert. There we go. There's the R427. So we're by Stradbally, I guess. Not a bad start to the day. $5,000. Perfect score. Okay, so see signs coming up there. Go where the signs are. The signs help us out. Okay, I can't quite make that out, but I think that might be Lithuanian or Latvian. Word endings. Leninis yeah, either Lithuanian or Latvian. I can't tell those two apart, unfortunately. Languages I'm quite interested in. Some of the oldest of the Western European, of the European Indo-European languages. Usugretis. Okay, so someplace in the Baltic anyway. Of these two countries. Not a bad bus shelter. I'm gonna say, you see some pretty good bus shelters in former Soviet countries. Much better than some of the shit you see in Britain. Aminklai. No, that's not a business or something. Oh, hang on, that could have been a place name. Tubachius. Karsakiskis. Trouble is they're almost certainly small towns. Hello, Riveroon, how you doing? Got you. Seem to be more us place name endings in Latvia. Maybe that's where to look. Tubachius Karsakiskis. Unfortunately, those are both very small places, which means you have to zoom in really far, which means it takes forever to check for them. Oh, well, that's good. I finally got paid by a client who is, I have to say, annoyed the fuck out of me. Because the only way that they could actually make the payment was international wire transfer. And international wire transfer, my receiving international wire transfers in the US has never been good. Somehow the US is like a century behind so many other countries when it comes to this stuff. Like, I mean, that is just the normal way to make payments and stuff like that in a lot of Europe. But here, it's a whole fucking thing. And it took weeks, and then it got sent back because they made a mistake on the name, even though all the other information was correct, and even though they actually only had to cut and paste the damn thing. And then it was like, and then they sent it a second time, and it took a week before I got the notification saying that it was incoming, and then they got the name wrong again, they misspelled it, and so it was a wonderful, suspenseful evening, because I had a sleepless night wondering whether the bank was going to reject it, even though all the other information was correct, just off of a very minor misspelling, but fortunately, reason prevailed, and they decided that it was close enough. So, that makes my life a little bit more possible. But, like, seriously, never accept international wires. Even when, I mean, there are scams that are based on fake wire transfers. Overpayment scams, which you have to be careful about, and particularly in my industry, because the overpayment scam is like perfectly designed for translation. But even when it's a legit wire transfer from a legit source, it takes bloody forever, and it is extremely fiddly, and you have basically no control over what's going on. Absolute pain in the ass. It seems like it should be able to transfer instantly, but somehow it doesn't. I've literally never had that happen. I mean, like, ACH transfers within the US, yeah. So, you know, those 24 hours and it's done. But anything international, I've waited for months on, which is why I don't do that shit. It would have to be a really big transfer to make it worth my while, and even then. Okay, we are either in Lithuania or Latvia. I think Latvia, but it's hard to say. Okay, Panevėžys, Kupiškis, Panevėžys. Ventspils, Palanga, Klaipėda, Rietavas, Radviliškis, Panevėžys. There we are, Panevėžys. 20 kilometers to what direction? To the west of us. Okay, so we're east of Panevėžys. What does this put? Okay, so this is Lithuania in the end. Okay. And Kupiškis is in the other direction. Don't get the Baltics very often. Urviliškis, Putiškiai, Nausode, Deškne, Degsnes, Kupiškis. Subačius. There we go. That's what I was really looking for. Subačius. Okay, here we go. Vežis. Subačius. 49.59. 99.59 out of 10,000 possible so far. I think I am very much in the running to beat my record. Okay. This feels like North America. Feels like it could be almost anywhere in North America, in fact. Well, almost anywhere in the US and Canada, rather. I don't know if I want to buy pizza from a liquor store. Convenience store pizza in a small town seems a very mixed proposition. Could be like New England. So far, we haven't seen anything that strictly rules out Canada. Okay. That looks like a state route sign, but not one I've ever seen before. Route 60 someplace. It's one of those annoying ones that isn't shaped like the state. Yeah, okay, US definitely. That state route sign was already a pretty clear indicator, even if I don't recognize the state, and so it isn't much help that way. Chautauqua. That's familiar. Roger Tory Peterson Institute. That doesn't help me any. Jamestown Glasser. Another North 60. What is a town called? Athol. Oh, there's a north-south state route numbered 60. And we're near a place called Jamestown, probably. (716) area code. Oh shit, my camera seems to have frozen. Any way to do this without... Hang on. Watch this space. It looks like I'm gonna have to restart OBS. Okay, that... Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I am Elise, translator, editor, and writer with 20 working languages, and this is where we talk about languages and language learning and all sorts of other stuff, and we play games.
Perfect. Okay, 3 of 4.
El hospital.
還元一級の先というのは、本当に誰も知らない字ばっかりでしょうね。私は、
Okay, we've leveled up and it is time to pick another language. Morfar är tröttare än vanligt. Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back.
Okay, am I back? Sorry about that. I tried a different, longer USB cable with my webcam just now, and it seems to have gotten hung up and freeze-framed me. Can you see me now? Is this stream still running? Excellent, excellent. So, well, that's good, because that way, the GeoGuessr window is just... that. There. Okay, so we were somewhere in New England, and it's nice to know that I can restart OBS without, like, having to restart the entire stream on YouTube. Because that's a pain in the ass. Okay, so we're on a State Route 60. Someplace that feels very New England. Oh, did that have a town? Jamestown, New York. Okay, so that is what a New York State Route sign looks like. I have never seen a New York State Route sign before. The only times I've ever, like, been on the roads in New York outside of New York City have been, like, on the thruway. That was a very long time ago. Okay, so Jamestown, New York. Route 60, New York State Route 60. Oh, Portland. Great apples from there. Okay. That's bird. Let's do 100. Tunbridge, like Tunbridge Wells. Neat. Two. 22. I feel like this must be upstate. New York is a fairly large state after all. Well, there's 63. 61 gonna be anywhere near it? There's Route 60. Jamestown, we got it. The Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz Museum is there. Huh. That's a neat thing that you now know about Jamestown, New York, a place I hadn't heard of until now. Okay. Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz Museum. Get a street name here. Grossman and Spring. The National Comedy Center is also in... Wait, Chautauqua Opportunities. Didn't we just see that? Oh, there's Crossman Street. There we go. But where's Spring Street? See Spring Street here. Oh, there we go. Spring Street. Got it. $49.99. Okay. National District. Okay, this feels. Okay, there's a yield sign. That'll tell us a useful thing. Give way. Okay, this is probably Britain. It looks like somebody sneezed on the lens. Clean that damn lens off, will you? Ah, thank you. Wait. Okay, no, not Britain. NZ. Access to all clubs in NZ. We are in NZ. Okay. Burton East. Goodbye, upstate New York. Hawick. St. Heliers. Bemuera, Glen Innes. Ere. What is? Never heard of Merton though. I mean, it could very well be a suburb of someplace, maybe of Palmy. Auckland Netball Center. Okay. That simplifies things. We're someplace by Auckland. Flatbush. East Auckland, East Tahamaki. Flatbush. Oranga, Glen Innes, Mission Bay, Glendowie, Half Moon Bay, Highland Park, Billy Park, Bakuranga. I mean, it looks like sort of a crap industrial estate. Clevedon. Named after a town of little note in North Devon. Oh, at Tamaki. Oh, right, okay. Not East Tamaki, just regular Tamaki. NZ Badminton Center. Okay. Oh wait, it's by Auckland University as well. Leninus. Ah, okay. Things begin to make a bit more sense. Glen Innes. I saw that someplace. You don't. Oh, there's Tamaki. I can save Glen Innes, Burton Road. And there's a big roundabout around here. Okay. Okay, so first there's Panmure. I'm looking at this wrong. I'm in the wrong place, in fact. There we go. $49.99. There we go. Okay, definitely not NZ this time, I don't think. Single lane road. We're driving on the right. $19,957 out of a possible 20,000 so far. Those grapes? Yeah, maybe France. Yes. Well, no, wait a second. That font, I don't feel like that font is quite right for. Got an intersection coming up at least. Via Somalia. Via Somalia. We're in Italy. Okay. Someplace. Via La Carlina. Okay. We are in Italy. Someplace. With grapes. That really does not narrow it down in Italy. Someplace where they grow wine. Well, that's only like most of the country. So far, all we've got is street names. And that does not help if you don't have some idea of at least what province you're in. Numbered route would be... I haven't seen one of those either. Just this bloody one-lane road. Oh, with all these grapes, even the name of a winery wouldn't be bad. La Carlina. Wait, is it just all one-lane roads here? Via Cavedalone. Poi cazzo ci troviamo? Ora. Tired today. 50 metri. Please becoming San Giorgio di Forlì. Ok. Proviamo a Forlì. Cazzo è feel like it's more northern. Viterbo, Marche, Siena, Pisa, Forlì. Ok, San Giorgio a Forlì. Galeata, San Martino in Strada. Ja, das ist ja die Frage. In Italien, in der Provinz Forlì, irgendwo in irgendeinem Dorf namens San Giorgio, St. Georg. Bei eigentlich einen blassen Schimmer habe, wo genau das Dorf liegt. Secchio, San Lorenzo, Colmano, Montemaggiore. That's still... Ah, the Rubicon. This is still Forlì. Poggioberni, San Martino, Serva, Bordonchio, Italia, Calisese, San Giorgio. L'abbiamo trovata. Ecco. L'est di Forlì, östlich von Forlì. Gut. San Marino, da ist Rimini. Limpopo. Ah, porca miseria. Map is too just annoyingly small. Wait, now I might have lost it. Villa Inferno. Hey, there's gotta be a story behind that name. God, so now I've lost San Giorgio. Ah, there's San Giorgio. San Giorgio. Okay, so it's by Cannuzzo, Montaletto. Ah, San Giorgio. Somewhere around here. Oh no, totally different San Giorgio. Cazzo. How are you gonna have two San Giorgios that nearby? $49.37, still not bad. $24,894. Close to my record. But not quite. Okay, I'm gonna take a little bit of a break. And then we will be back. Hi, and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I am Elise, translator, editor, and writer with 20 working languages. And this is where we talk about languages and language learning and all sorts of other stuff. And we play games.
Perfect. Okay, 3 of 4.
El hospital
還元一級の先というのは本当に誰も知らない字ばっかりでしょうね。私は
Okay, we've leveled up and it is time to pick another language. Morfar är tröttare än vanligt. Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back. Greek. We're doing Greek when we get back. Benedese. How to do the pull-up today. Fun fact. Turkish. Hello, Shakespeare. How you doing? Fun fact, in Spanish, the word for bishop in chess is alfil. And that actually comes from Arabic. Fil. The same word fil as this. Meaning elephant, because the bishop traditionally was to represent elephant units somehow. Similarly, in Russian, the word for bishop is sword, and that also means elephant.
Ça, ça, ah c'est ça, che c'est ça, non ça, c'est ça, sol chi sa che nulla sa, ne sa più di chi ne sa. Ecco.
Bonjour et bienvenue à Hyperpolyglotting avec Élise. Moi, c'est Élise, traductrice, éditrice et écrivain avec 20 ans de travail. Et ça, c'est la transmission en direct ou en jeu des jeux, surtout GeoGuessr en dernier temps. Et parle des langues, de la linguistique, de l'acquisition des langues.
10-159. Haven't made a huge dent in it, but we're getting there. Okay, gonna do some Chinese now. Night. Night. None. Yen. Yo. 5. Ducks are drinking wine. Bangba, okay, Bangbas is duck. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now. 10,340 out of 12,500. And as always, viewers can choose my next language for me just with a follow and a $5 to my Patreon.
Sotto le frasche del capanno 4 gatti grossi stanno. Sotto 4 grossi sassi, 4 grossi e grassi gatti. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Facile. Sì, ecco, la gente... è la cosa che mi dice la gente, sempre che scoprisce che quante lingue parlo. Io sempre avevo l'impressione, diciamo, di che non era così, non era tan così, ma poi dopo di aver visto qualche poliglota in YouTube, una delle cose che avevo scoperte era giustamente che la metodologia usata da quella gente poliglota che non avevo mai conosciuta prima, era più o meno la stessa metodologia che usavo io.
I buy a computer or what? Here's another example. I like to point these out. For this word for or sounds vaguely like hogun and the hok in hogun in Korean or waku in Japanese, and that's because it is the exact same kind of character.
Okay, let me see.
Un chasseur, ça son chassé, ses chassés sont son chien de chasse.
Der dicke Dach.
Okay, der dicke Dachdecker deckt dir dein Dach, drum dank dem dicken Dachdecker, dass der dicke Dachdecker dir dein Dach deckt. Hola y bienvenidos al directo de Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. Yo soy Elisa, traductora, escritora y editora y comunicadora social con más de 20 idiomas de trabajo. Y aquí vamos a estar jugando videojuegos, sobre todo GeoGuessr, y hablando de idiomas la mejor forma de aprenderlo y caleta más.
Zwei Zwetschgenzweigen zwitscherten zwei tschechische Schwalben. Tres tristes tigres tragaban trigo en un trigal en tres tristes trastos.
Oh, I see. This is Diche Ishai Boyd, which means, do you want food? But, yeah, are you hungry? That kind of thing.
And I'm back. So... let's get started. See what's going on in the world of videos. Can a Mexican girl understand Argentinian insults? Sound more Afrikaans with these 12 sayings than the 13 languages with the hardest pronunciation. Actually, I think I'm gonna check out, as we do this, the 13 languages with the hardest pronunciation as we play another round of GeoGuessr.
Language that has some difficult pronunciation in it.
This is Ollie Richards, who has some pretty sound ideas about language learning in general. And yeah, let me just drop that link in chat.
Seen nothing yet. Prepare to have your mind blown by 13 languages with the craziest, most challenging pronunciation on the planet.
Okay, chat. What do we think are in here? Which languages do you think we're gonna have on this list? I mean, I'm going to assume that Georgian must be in there because Georgian is challenging. Yeah, when it comes to consonant clusters in particular. What any thoughts, chat? What you think is gonna be in here? I mean, clearly at least one of the Khoisan click languages looks like it's in here, maybe
My name's Ollie Richards, and with 8 languages under my belt and tens of thousands of students taught, I know that the struggle with pronunciation is real. So here we're going to tackle pronunciation head on with some insider tips and techniques so that you can sound more native in the language that you're learning, or at least give it your best shot.
Combien sont ces 6 saucissons-ci? Ces 6 saucissons-ci sont 6 sous.
In English,
French tongue twisters. Let's see, let me see that again. Combien sont ces 6 saucissons-ci? Ces 6 saucissons-ci sont 6 sous.
6 saucissons-ci. Ces 6 saucissons-ci sont 6 sous.
in English,
And the challenge here, one, is that actually, see, those are the European French vowels. In Quebec, there are vowel sounds that have been preserved that long since went extinct in, like, European metropolitan French.
English is your native language. It's going to be very difficult for you at first to make certain sounds in French. Especially the French R, the R, and the nasal vowels. They're a real pain until you get used to them.
This is not déjà vu, it's déjà vu. That is not croissant or croissant.
Déjà vu. Actually, that's something that should be used, because it means you again.
It's croissant, croissant.
With nasal vowels, instead of pushing the air through your mouth, you push it up through your nose. But the real nightmare in French is when you put certain vowels together and they completely change their sounds.
Hey, you make the sound O. O-I is pronounced wa.
Or in Quebec, often way, or even white.
EU sounds like the letter I.
Or in Quebec a lot of the time, and Arcadia.
In French,
Arcadia.
Quincaillerie.
In Quincaillerie.
Quincaillerie.
One French word is a perfect storm of tricky sounds that don't exist in English. Know what it is?
Écureuil.
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 And you can actually see, this is this is the only non-English word for squirrel that I've heard, that I know of anyway, in the Indo-European languages, that is actually etymologically related to the English squirrel. One of the things that French does a lot of the time is with word initial S's in English. When you have a cognate, often in French, that S will be an A. I mean, you see that in the name, like, you have, like, the English Stephen, and in French it's Etienne.
Yeah, it is. Écureuil.
Yes, I did.
Écureuil. Always look at the different sound in a word in French if you can't pronounce it.
Good advice, and better not complain about the écureuil and the quincaillerie. How did I do? I'm starting you off easy here. It's the rest of my list that you really have to worry about. But by the way, French people can't say it in English either.
Oh, t'as vu? Il y a un squirrel.
Danish has a
Yes, the Danish soft D, which I don't actually quite understand why it is written as a D, because it's always sounded to me like a sort of a soft L.
few tricky sounds, but there's one sound that has a really bad reputation, and Danes love to have a bit of fun trying to get tourists to say it.
Rød med fløde.
Yeah.
Rødgrød med fløde.
Rod med flod.
I'm not the
Rod med flod. Just, just fuck it, don't even try. Rød med flod.
only one who thinks Danish sounds impossible.
Danish is notoriously hard to learn to pronounce.
Oh, this is native lang. This is one of my absolute favorite language-related YouTube creators. I mean, just amazing animations, interesting topics, stuff like that. All sorts of just random language nerd stuff. But, I mean, Native Lang is definitely a channel worth checking out. Let me just drop the name in there. Like, let me drop a link to them. They rock. Here we go. 1.04 million subscribers, and I will say every one of them well deserved. That is where this is from. I mean, look at the quality, look at the production values here. Look at this design and everything. I mean, I love Native Lang. Their stuff is great.
Yeah, well, that's exactly
So
how
I think
it is.
it's like one guy, and he's doing all this production values and the research that goes into these videos, some of which are extremely research intensive, and you've got bloody sound effects, and I mean, it's just like really excellent language nerd content.
Is supposed to sound. If you want to know where this weirdness came from, you can watch my Danish video a little bit later. There's a cool Viking story in there. Anyway, Danish has 2 Ds, and the soft one is the problem. Your mouth has never ever made this shape to speak English, so you literally have to teach your muscle memory a new trick.
Let's try and say mall, like in English. Just say it like you're used to mall, mall. And now instead of the tongue up for the L in the end, you put the tongue down. Instead of mall, you say mal. Mal. So what we can use in the beginning instead of willpower is physical power. L.
You make like an L sound, but instead of putting your tongue there, you put it behind your bottom teeth. Oh.
And one thing to note, it's not just English speakers who have trouble with Danish. Speakers of Scandinavian languages, including the closest related languages to Danish, Norwegian and Swedish, especially Norwegian, everybody takes the piss out of Danish pronunciation. Because Swedish has its challenges, Norwegian has its challenges, but you can tell, you can look at the words as they're written and understand pretty quickly what you're hearing. Whereas Danish, I mean, the joke in Scandinavia about Danish is that it's Norwegian spoken with a hot potato in your mouth.
So,
In other words, you start from a sound that you already know. Remember that one? Very good pronunciation strategy right there. Unless, well, what if it's something else and not a sound at all? Stay tuned. Have you ever tried to make an F sound without your teeth touching your lips? Go on, give it a try. From now on, no more training wheels. Let's see if you can guess which language each.
Okay, that sound immediately makes me think we're about to talk about the Japanese F, these half H, half F thing that Japanese does. But,
sound belongs to. Now there's a really
oh cool, we get a quiz. I like a quiz, let's do it.
really cool thing that linguists like to play around with. They are symbols that represent all of these speaking sounds, the sounds that we can make in human languages.
And also represents very hoppy beer.
Because clearly the alphabet itself cannot be trusted. And this one means the F sound you just heard. Isn't it awesome? The hardest part is when it comes before a U. So you go from a no voice sound to a U sound, like this.
Hi.
I knew it. Oh yeah. In Maori, this is the thing. When you see this WH there, that is actually this F sound. And you see this double H all over the place. If you look at place names in New Zealand, Aotearoa, you have Panganui, you have you have lots of them.
Whakapapa. Fall.
Well, there you go. It's a sound in Japanese, Maori, Bengali, and an African language that I cannot.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing about with it in Japanese is that it literally only exists in with one vowel. So that huh sound is part of the he, the ha row. It's ha, he, hu, he, ho. It is the combination of this huh sound with the rounded sound that turns it into a huh. Into an almost a huh. So to indicate this, like whenever there's the Japanese name for a Nintendo console is Famicom. But the way they do that is they write it with the katakana for hu, and then they add a little a to indicate that it's changing the vowel.
Not pronounce. Oops. So it's not foo or foo. It's halfway between fu and huh. The matching Japanese character is this one right here.
Futari.
Come to think of it, you might hear this sound in some parts of central and northern Spain too, especially when people speak fast for afuera.
And this is part of why actually one common regional variant, I'm actually not sure where it is most common. I feel like Central America. You will see like this fuera, for example, pronounced like it's written with a jota, afuera.
Becomes afuera. You see, it's in there somewhere. So is it worth learning? Yeah, I think so. And is it worth subscribing to this channel? You bet it is. It's like elections out here, guys. Come on, every single vote counts. Please hit those buttons and help me reach my goal of 1 million subscribers. We are going to get there sooner or later. Now, next up is a sound that is a little bit of a rebel in the language world.
ये रूसी पाजे घर बैठी थी अड़ी तो बुद्धि यून जी छोकरी ना है टिक टाक थी ठाए बैठी हाँ बुद्धि
in the language.
Okay, let me listen to this again. I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to look at the GeoGuessr for a second. And so I could not immediately... I think that might be Bengali?
ये रूसी पाजे घर बैठी थी अड़ी तो बुद्धि यून जी छोकरी ना है टिक टाक थी ठाए बैठी हाँ छोरी शर्मी कान था स्की टिक टाक ठाए बैठी.
If you ever wanted to try ventriloquism...
Can you do that without moving your nose?
I haven't, but if you ever have, well, you're in the right place for a head start. It's all about controlling your muscles to create sounds without moving your lips very much.
Adla. Ad. Geri.
Marathi. Geri.
Rund. Marai.
Yep, it's a sound.
Okay, yeah, a sound that is related to that exists in Hindi and Urdu as well. Is like, I mean, actually in the northern Indian languages in general, you have this, although, I mean, Tamil is definitely not one of those. you have this distinction between sort of front consonants and back consonants with some things. So you have a d that is up front in the mouth, but there's also a d that is in the back of the mouth, and a r that is up front in the mouth, in front of the alveolar ridge. That's that thing, that elevation right behind your teeth. And then there's also r, which is behind it. And one in Hindi, interestingly, one of the sort of choices for representing foreign loan words is to use these retroalveolar consonants, the back ones, the d, the r, the t.
I'm sure you know very, very well.
Hello, how are you? I'm under the water. Please help me.
Can I borrow your phone? I ran out of data.
Want to know how to do it? Of course you do.
So it's not r sound, neither it's d sound. It's somehow in the middle, something like you pronounce American or you pronounce America.
It's in the back of your mouth.
American. So that sound, you know? Lurka.
Believe me, that sound can get even harder, and I'm going to prove it. Say the
Hindi, it means boy.
word ladder, but try to roll the R on your palate like this.
Yeah.
What a sound, right? If you say you can do it, well, sorry, I don't believe you, unless you speak an Indian language called Torda.
Okay, this is an Indian language I've never heard of.
The first language you heard was Sindhi, and Sindhi has similar...
Oh, no wonder I couldn't make any sense out of it. I've heard of Sindhi. I have never heard Sindhi. Actually, what family is that part of? We're gonna make... Sindhi. Is that an Indo-European? Yeah, okay, it's an Indo-Aryan language, so it's related to Hindi and Farsi. It's spoken in Pakistan and some parts of India. Okay. So it is actually, and it's written with both the Arabic script and the Devanagari script. Okay, interesting. I knew it sounded familiar, but it did not sound familiar.
Similar call tricks to Vietnamese.
Bơ. Bơ.
Bơ.
Bơi.
Bạn.
Bạn. Ba bèo à.
I love that sound. It's a fun one. You want to try it? Imagine trying to say "b" while...
Yeah, one of the things with Vietnamese is there's a sort of like spiccato, pizzicato kind of thing going on with the vocal cords with like all the vowels. That is one of the real challenges to like really authentic Vietnamese pronunciation. Because it's constantly, it's like it's plucking your vocal cords.
Sucking air into your mouth instead of pushing it out. That's the idea. Totally normal in South Asia. And if you're learning a language with extremely difficult sounds, it's a good idea to tackle these sounds from the very
See, so far, is he going to get into Georgian?
very start. Now, our next language has a sound that only exists in 4.2% of the world's languages. Best part is, I once spent quite a long time trying to master it myself.
What's the strangest sound you could possibly make that doesn't sound human? Ein.
Oh yes. Ein.
Bad means
Bad. After.
after. Fa'ala it's the verb to do, to make.
It's interesting. I guess this must be a regional thing because I have always heard the a around the ein to turn it into sort of an a. Ba'ala. Daif.
Make. Ma'asara, I don't know.
Languages from this part of the world have some unbelievable sounds that tend to scare the living daylights out of new English-speaking learners, and this one doesn't even exist in most languages. Superhuman precision of the throat muscles required.
You get used to it though.
I know it's wrong, so please help me. Tell me how to pronounce it. I struggle with words like adad, asfura, the word ain. I can't say that properly.
But I had a good crack at it when I was living in Cairo back in 2015, so I promise you, it is more or less possible.
Yeah, I mean, it is a part of your throat that is engaged in other languages. Like if you speak German, for example, this bit of the throat gets involved when you have words like Beamter or beantworten and stuff like that. It does exist in like more familiar, like Indo-European languages, but they put a little bit more effort into it in Arabic. Arabic.
To do like this. Try to say ah and continue, just letter A, ah, and then reduce the airflow with your hand. Choke yourself in simple words.
Yes.
Ah,
you throttle it.
Slowly. When you do this movement here, you will be able also to do it without your head.
You can also think of a rock band trying to rev up a crowd. So imagine a rock band singer is trying to say Allah, but instead of saying Allah, they're trying to rev up the crowd with Allah, Allah, Allah. You hear it?
So this is the Arabic ayn, and it's just the beginning of sounds in Arabic. Arabic also has the qa sound.
Can you say qa in Greenlandic? In our Greenlandic language, we have many cues.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, let me hear that a second.
Greenlandic language, we have many cues.
Yep.
Interesting. That double R there is like a sound.
Greenlandic language, we have many cues.
Yeah, in Greenlandic, they do it too. In fact, if we had to stretch that sound even further back in the throat, things might get crazy, leaving Arabic in the dust. Listen. That's some serious throaty Mayan language all the way from Guatemala. But why are all these sounds so hard for us? Well, the only thing we have to...
Well, because we're not used to them. They're really easy for the people who grow up around these sounds and are acquiring them really early on. They get a lot of practice. I mean, if like a lot of these things engage muscles, the reason they're hard is they engage muscles that we in our like native languages are not used to using in speech. I mean, it's the same reason clicks are complicated. Like, I mean, Isi Zulu, Isi Xhosa clicks are not in themselves complicated. In fact, we make the sounds a lot of the time. We make a lot of those sounds all the time, just not as part of words. We're just not used to sticking vowels around them and stuff like that. And so it is a challenge. But we all have, I mean, barring some sort of injury or something like that, we all have the muscles that can do this. It's just some of us have practice with them and some of us have never used them.
To go on, it's the set of sounds that we've been hearing and making since we were babies. So both your brain and your mouth literally don't know a thing about them until you rewire them. That's why you need to listen a lot to the language you're interested in every day to get your ears tuned in. And if you're keen to work on your pronunciation, you might enjoy story learning, where real language learning begins, because the best secret is to learn a language from the inside. So you're not just trying to mimic the sounds, but to sound really natural when you're speaking, so that you can start telling your own stories in an interesting way instead of worrying about the pronunciation all the time. And here at Story Learning, we teach languages through stories, because stories bring the language to life, and they quite literally rewire your brain and train up your vocal cords so that over time you can make these difficult sounds without any effort at all. It's quite something, and if you'd like to find out how you can do this, you should check out my free Story Learning kit, which will teach you exactly how the story learning method works. There's a link in the description below, or you can scan this very cool QR code if you're watching on your TV, which many of you actually are, which I think is really, really cool. Now, are you ready for something deadly? Whoa. Now, what was that? Let me put it this way. The sounds of this language are so hard to pronounce that there's a legend that the king once made everyone say a tricky line to weed out spies.
These sorts of legends exist, but there's some truth to some of them. Like, for example, one of the things that is very common in the 6 counties as sort of a sectarian distinguisher is how you pronounce word initial H. Do you pronounce the name of it H or Hitch? Itch or Hitch? And so, like, there are all sorts of jokes around this where somebody's trying to find out whether somebody's part of like the nationalist community or the settler community by asking them, yeah, what's the first letter of the word for the word hospital? You know, or something like that, to get somebody to say either Hitch, which would be the sort of the nationalist, the indigenous Irish community, or Itch, which is the settler pronunciation, and stuff like that. I mean, these sorts of like pronunciation tests are.
Those who couldn't pronounce the word had their heads cut off. But which sounds are the hardest?
Wow, whack.
Wurtswavik.
Latakik.
Loklowek?
What? Okay. A lot of them are utterly.
And, like none of those sounds are themselves difficult. What's difficult there is the representation. If you don't know that in Slavic languages, and a few others actually, like Pinyin Chinese does this, that C, and you don't know that slash in the L in Polish makes it a W kind of sound, then it's complicated. But if you know those things, none of those sounds are actually far off. What's complicated with Polish is that unlike a lot of Slavic languages, they just stick Z's on things. You know, they use 2 letters to represent one sound, so SZ is sh, CZ is ch. You know, in other Slavic languages, they either have, if they're using the Cyrillic alphabet, they've got their own letter for it, or in, say, Czech, or, you know, Slovak, Serbian, all the former Yugo languages, you just put a little diacritic mark over the C or the S or whatever.
Impossible. Problem is, some sounds are so similar that practicing out loud can sound like you're trying the same word in 2 different accents.
You told me, you say little piggy, you don't say proszę, you say proszę. Proszę. Look at my mouth. It's not sh, it's sh.
See what I mean? One means please, the other means pig, and you...
Sh. Yeah, I mean...
probably don't want to get those mixed up. That's the trouble with this language. You have to say very similar sounds right next to each other. Now, try this on for size.
It's źdźbło.
Źdźbło.
Źdźbło, it's actually a piece of grass. Źdźbło trawy. Źdźbło, małe źdźbło. Chrząszcz brzmi w trzcinie.
Chrząszcz brzmi w trzcinie. W ściebrzesinie. Chrząszcz brzmi w trzcinie. W ściebrzesinie.
W Szczebrzeszynie, or w Szczebrzeszynie chrząszcz.
Interesting. Actually, a funny thing about the Northern Germanic words for squirrel is that they don't relate to the English word for squirrel, but they do relate to the most iconic thing squirrels eat. So in German, squirrel is Eichhörnchen. In a lot of in the Scandinavian languages, it's some variation of ekorn, which is where we get the word acorn.
Brzmi w trzcinie.
Ouch! So, not too many vowels then. Guys, don't let obstacles like this scare you. Look at the sound from different angles, the way it looks, the way it sounds, and get a detailed explanation too. YouTube can often be a great help with that. Who guessed the language, by the way?
You can speak.
I mean, yeah, I think
Polish.
That was Polish.
All right.
Nad morzem śródziemnym gdzieś tam mrzawka dżdżownicę zdźwiła i pchnęła mnie pod pachę, a rozentuzjazmowany wciąż zauważył zdźbło Żółty, żółci, poszprzedażowej.
Entuzjazmowany chrząszcz zauważył źdźbło żółtej żółci posprzedażowej.
Well, that's great, but 6-year-olds and 96-year-olds in most of the world are very happy the next sound does not exist in their language at all.
I think it's good. You think or you think? Oh.
Well, I bet you never saw this one coming. It may come as a shock to you, but the TH sound.
There's a whole video on this by Native Lang, who I was mentioning earlier, about sounds that English does that virtually nobody else does. Like th is actually not a common sound.
That we use every day are actually pretty rare in world languages. If you ask me, some dialects ditched it long ago.
Brother, bother, mother.
The or the, which are different sounds, are very difficult sounds to make if you are not a native English speaker. And what makes it even worse is when you have to say words where the th sound comes at the end, like sixth.
Sixth, yes.
So like a snake.
Can you do it right? Come on, you can tell me. This combination of X and th is hard even for us English natives. So most people just end up saying six or sixth, but it's actually sixth. So I guess the real difficult sound here is xth. How do you say it? Confessions in the comments. Now, hardest and rarest aren't exactly...
And of course the thing is that sixth is how we pronounce it when we're trying to be extremely, like, excruciatingly precise. You talk to people, you listen to, like, native English speakers talking at normal speed, and they do not say sixth. It will often actually, they will just take the th off altogether, depending on what comes next. Like, so it will be like, you know, the sixth serpent will be the sixth serpent. And you can almost, which adds its own level of confusion, because that could also be a serpent that is sick. And then there's a whole other level of confusion that comes semantically from the fact that a sick serpent can be a serpent with a disease of some sort. Washington in I'm guessing Wisconsin. I feel like this is Wisconsin. I feel like it must be on the lake.
The same thing. So would you like to hear the rarest sound, which happens to also be really hard? Sorry. This language has lots of very hard sounds, but none could take down this one in a battle to the death. A word of warning here, if you think it sounds just like a Spanish R, sorry, Spanish R isn't going to cut it. Listen again.
Zeka, Zeka, Zezika, Zezika, which has two R's with a hat in a row, which is crazy, but you got this.
Helps to have the visuals there, doesn't it? It's like trying to say the word measure with a trill on the j part. Give it a go. Now, believe it or not, this is the rarest of all sounds in human languages.
That I did not know. That, I mean, it is a very common sound in the Slavic world. Polish has a version of it. Czech has a version. Slovak has a version. I think maybe the Sorbian languages, the Wendish languages, have a version of it as well, though I'm less certain about that.
According to a GIF.
The video's in English, and it's about the 13 languages with the hardest pronunciation. I've lost count of which languages we're on. The most recent one was Polish. This one, I mean, judging from the diacritics that were used, hey, Erica, by the way, I'm guessing would be Czech or Slovak.
Guinness World Record. I am not so sure, but then I know what's still on the way. The sound is the R with horns, only found in one major language.
Rzekł, talierz, puszka, rzemesło. Yeah, Czech.
Talierz, buszka,
Řemeslo.
If you guessed Czech, well, you're dead right. The sound is so tricky that they even have a fairy tale about a princess who can't get it right.
Jmenuje se O princezně, která ráčkovala.
Ráčkovat. Yeah, so ráčkovat. In Czech, there is a word for not being able to say rže, a verb for it. Ráčkuju, ráčkuješ.
Excellent tip with sounds like this is to break them up and train your mouth muscles one step at a time. So you start with the smallest sound chunks and you work your way up to...
Yeah. I mean, this is... this particular sound has a close sibling in Polish, though, which is represented with RZ. But it's not quite the same sound.
Fuller sound and then eventually to shorter sentences.
Now say three. Three, three, three. Say them quietly and slowly close your teeth. Three, 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 three. Now you have the word three in Czech. Three.
Not so bad, right? Wrong. Well, whatever you think of it, prepare to be humbled. Here comes a sound that only a tiny fraction of the world can pronounce.
Okay, I was hoping that looking at these subtitles would actually help me identify the language. These subtitles, okay, whatever this is, I'm sure, I have a feeling I will have heard the name, but these subtitles are not telling me anything about what language it is. Oh, interesting.
Did you see that word? It has 3 O's in a row, and this word ends in 3 I's. Imagine trying to learn this pronunciation, and if you attempt to speak this language, you'll only have very few sounds to get your point across with.
Wait. Okay, so we've got 4 speakers pronouncing the same word, and there are totally different sounds being used for each of them. Could be, although it's not ringing a bell. Yeah, that's, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. It doesn't look like any that I know, but that says nothing. Because the only ones I can recognize offhand would be Maputhugun, hey, atta! Fun fact, your name in Japanese is what people say when they want to say, there it is. Attazo! Like if you're looking for something. Ah, not bad. Yeah, like, this definitely isn't Maputhugun. This isn't Guarani, and it is not Quechua, and it isn't anything related to them.
But don't be fooled, the language has an absolute ton of different ways you can combine these sounds, and the vowels themselves carry meaning. So the real challenge might be, well, how do you combine the sounds? After all, friend and enemy are the exact same word.
Oh, okay. So what does the... Okay, and one of the challenges is you have to, when it comes to writing systems, is these diacritic marks do not mean the same thing everywhere you see them. In some languages, this will mean the stress pattern, like in Spanish, in Portuguese or whatever. In other languages, like Czech, for example, or Hungarian, the accent mark there indicates length of the vowel. And then you also have it lives a life as a tone indicator in quite a few languages as well, in like Vietnamese, the Chinese pinyin system, and a few others. So what is this going to turn out to be what's going on here? That would make sense.
with slightly different tones. In fact, listen to this. The language relies so much on tone for context that...
And actually, given the way that they are... Okay, given this romanization scheme, I think you might be onto something. Because that X is not behaving the way it would behave for... I mean... It seems like he's using it almost as a glottal stop. Let me listen to that again. But some of the other examples, it sounded like it was pronounced more like an S or kind of a sh kind of thing, which could suggest that this was Romanized by Portuguese speakers.
Enemy are the exact same word with slightly different tones. In fact, listen to this. The language...
I think it's a tone indicator. Aboriginal Australian languages tend to be very big on the consonants. So, I don't think so. Also, he does not look Aboriginal Australian.
Relies so much on tone for context that speakers can even hum the language to each other and be understood. See, this is why I love languages so much. The way us humans communicate, it really is extraordinary. Feast your eyes on a little written sample. So few letters, so much meaning. But okay, what's the hardest of all these sounds that they make?
To make it, they hold their tongue in position.
Oh, here we go. This is native lang again. Again, just absolutely some of... When I talk about like the best and worst of language YouTube, native lang is definitely amongst the best. Not a language learning channel, just a language nerd channel. Like, yeah, if you just want to geek out to weird stuff about languages, including languages you've probably never heard of, native lang just does it so beautifully.
And for a T sound against the teeth, then release it with that sputtering lip trill. I see why this sound is rare.
Now you know how to write it too. It is the Piraha language spoken by a tribe of about 350 people in the Amazon. The only two other languages that use this sound are at least 500 kilometers away. Another world away, there's an extraordinary sound that might be my favorite.
Okay, I had never actually heard Piraha spoken. Yeah, well done. And Piraha is interesting. I was reading, went down a bit of a rabbit hole. And now this is a language where, like, linguists have had very little contact with. So, of course, in that sense, everything needs to be taken with a bit of a grain of salt, because assumptions can, you know, compared to languages where you've got hundreds of years of people studying and hundreds of years of contact with other languages, and a much larger sample than a population of 350 people could provide, you know, generalizations and misconceptions can happen. But, like, one paper was suggesting that Piraha speakers don't really do object permanence. That the language, at the very least, the way the language works, treats things that are present and absent as if those are absolute states. Like, I seem to remember there being, like, they used an example where the word for, like, somebody going away is the same as ceasing to exist.
Of them all. You'll know this one, so guess quickly.
Shijay, which means you set my heart on fire.
Navajo, I think. Just judging from these diacritics.
Some nice romantic words for you there. Recognize any particularly unusual sounds? Well, look for this letter. When you say it, there's no vibration at all in your vocal cords. It's all
It's a lateral fricative. Like, Welsh has, the Nguni languages of southern Africa have them. It's the subgroup that includes isiZulu. Mongolians got it.
Slur. Slur. This sound is the cornerstone of, you guessed it, did you? Navajo. Now apparently
Not based on the phonetics, I just looked at those diacritics. Because, one of the absolute shittest courses on Duolingo, which is just not impressive in general, but just the most slapdash thing, is their Navajo course, which mostly does include an audio. Like, there's huge amounts of just totally lacking audio. Never mind that the phrases are just totally useless, and the audio quality when it's there is absent. But you have all these diacritics, all these very unfamiliar diacritics and unfamiliar sounds, and all you get is text a lot of the time.
The Navajo word for dog is particularly challenging because it starts with this funny L letter followed by a glottal stop. Any Navajo speakers here to confirm in the comments? There's only one other language I know of that makes a sound like this, although they use it very, very differently.
For non-Welsh speakers, a lot of them pronounce it as cl or thl. Words like cysell, seith, llanuwchlyn.
And if you're learning Welsh and want some really...
Yeah, and I mean, amongst Welsh speakers, it's worth noting, there are definite variations in how that letter is pronounced, that double L. Because when you talk to people from, like, central South Wales, a lot of the time it comes from way in the back of the mouth. If you ask people from, like, Llanelli to say Llanelli, it sounds very much in the back of the mouth. Other parts of Wales, it's more in the side of the mouth. Okay, is Everett the guy who had who said the things about object permanence? Yeah, Mongolian has that sound anytime you see the L letter up against a consonant. Yeah, I mean, to me, it also just merits skepticism on the level that you've got very few people speaking it. It's only very recently that, like, Western-trained linguists have ever even had any contact with the language, encountered speakers of it. So that's extremely limited experience. And so, I mean, that... And then it's all done, it's overwhelmingly done by one dude. Yeah, I mean, so definitely all sorts of reasons. See, I didn't go through enough of a rabbit hole to remember all of that. I remember occasionally you will get these memes where people think that they have, like, conclusively pwned universal grammar, generative grammar theory, and stuff like that, by finding one example of a language that does things very differently. And Piahan was one of them, and so I wanted to know more about it when I first saw this. Of course, the thing about universal grammar is that no one language could actually serve as a refutation. A single language couldn't do it, because if you find... all that can do is refute one or more specific hypothesized universals. But it can't necessarily, that just means that you have to look for universals on a different level of generality. You would have to basically say that there are none to falsify it. Falsifying it is much more complicated than finding one language that does things totally differently. But so many of these memes, and a lot of the time it seems to be like, it's like people who have objections to Chomsky politically, who will then, despite having no background in languages, or linguistics or anything like that, try to take potshots at UG theory, since he's the OG of UG. And it's always just such nonsense. It's like, oh wow, look, we got this language that has different structures. It's like, or they'll be like, hey, he's changed his approach over the years. Clearly it has to be bogus because science, if it's science, it's immutable. Dialectics? Never heard of it.
in practice, we'll have a great book right here I can thoroughly recommend, although I'm a bit biased, obviously. So I was about to make this all about Navajo until a friend reminded me of the longest string of consonants I've ever seen.
With this beast of a word, 20.
Okay. I mean, the first question is, since I know nothing about this language, are those W's consonants? Do we have syllabic consonants that act as vowels like R in a lot of Slavic languages? And I'm guessing what we're being told is that these are all fucking consonants? How does that work?
51 characters long, so that should be pronounced something like. That took me so many tries and the pronunciation was still terrible. And here's a question, how many syllables was that word? Like, there's no vowel, so how do you sound out the syllables? Well, the answer, not even linguists know.
That's nothing. Wait till you...
Yeah, because, I mean, the trouble with syllable, like a lot of these linguistic categories, is that it was developed on a sample of languages that do syllables very similarly. And then you go out into the world and it turns out, wow, shit, you've got languages that do syllables totally differently, where the concept of a syllable is totally meaningless because you don't necessarily need vowels to make a word happen. Oh, okay. Now I'm kind of interested. Now I'm interested. I had no idea. I mean, it doesn't surprise me he would have said something about Everett. Chomsky, Everett, Beta, huh? Oh, like the very first thing that comes up. Oh, holy shit. The first result, when I look up Chomsky, Everett, Pirahan, is a Reddit post from Kanguro English. This guy who I made this video claiming to refute comprehensible input based on his complete lack of knowledge of comprehensible input. And of course, Kanguro English thinks Dan Everett is a legend. I began. Oh, here's some lore. I began my career in the Amazon as an evangelical Protestant missionary, but became an atheist, which caused severe problems in my family, and also led to loss of employment as a missionary. Who needs an atheist missionary? Tell that to Richard Dawkins. Although now I think he's declared himself, like, culturally Christian or something like that. Yeah, Kanguro English is this guy who refutes input theory. He's got and claims that it's all a grift. The hardest to monetize approach to language acquisition, to language teaching, is a grift, and he does this in wearing his merch, of which he has a gracious plenty. I seem to remember him saying that.
Hear a fluent person speaking Nuhulk.
So I'd say Yakasoshunts. Yakasoshunts. I'm playing ball. Now if I say let's play Yakasoshmich, we are playing Yakasoshmichat. Let's play now.
How do people even manage to learn Native American languages? It makes you feel silly for complaining about French. Now we're almost at the truly gangster part, where the entire language is so hard to pronounce that by the time native speakers are adults, they've grown a lump on their larynx. It is absolutely mad. But first, I give you a deceptively beautiful alphabet where the sounds look like hearts.
Georgian. I knew it was coming. A cultural Christian means that, you like to, that's something I've never heard of it before. Culturally Jewish actually is a thing and makes sense, which it has a lot to do with European Jewish history. I'm culturally Jewish. Cultural Christian, on the other hand, is a term, literally, I think maybe Dawkins himself made sense out of it, made it up, I made sense out of it as saying too much. But the only way I can make sense out of it in the context of Dawkins is that he means that he's like that he's being racist, basically.
It's one of the oldest languages in existence with elvish-looking letters.
Yeah, Georgian language. I actually had a very cool language acquisition related. A language acquisition moment. I was having coffee and looking for something to read and getting bored, and so I have to so I have all these PDFs that I downloaded, Georgian books, and so I just grab one at random. Unfamiliar cover, it's not one I'd looked at before, and I look at it and it says Zedmet-i and I immediately it could be me, it could be you, it could be all of us. Maybe we're all buffering and we don't know it. And I immediately recognized it as being theories of surplus value, and it's like, yeah, I hadn't been doing Georgian in a while, and I looked at that and I immediately worked out that it was theories of surplus value. This is the stuff I use in order to learn Georgian, because I can't find John Grisham translations.
That can be difficult to distinguish between, and 3 of them have no sound equivalents at all in English.
Let me present to you the one and only. In order to pronounce it.
Yeah, it is they have these ejective consonants. And then they cluster them.
You need to try to pronounce the ejected sound as far back in your throat as possible.
This is a very common Georgian tongue twister. It's like it's about a bird, I seem to remember, that is like a frog that is like tweeting in the water or something.
But like I said, not only one sound is going to trip you up. See what else your antennae can pick up.
რომელმან შექმნა სამყარო ძალითა მიძლიერითა ზეგარდ მოარსნისულითა ყნაზე ცით მონაბერითა ჩვენ კაცთა მოგვცა ქვეყანა გვაქვს უთვალავი ფერითა მისგან არს ყოვლი ხელმწიფე სახითა მის მიერითა.
Okay, so clearly this is going to be a very difficult language to learn. Gotcha. But I can tell you one amazing secret. It's one of the most phonetic languages in existence.
Yes, which is one of those things that people will say when there are really few things to suggest that it is an easy language. Yeah, okay, you can have like 10 consonants in a row, and it's a word. But it's all phonetic. And this is before we get into, like, the pronunciation is complicated. And it's not related to any language that most people who are learning it would... like, literally the only languages Georgian is related to are languages that are endangered because of the dominance of Georgian. Like, beyond that, there are no other languages. So it's not related to, like, any language that a Georgian learner might be using, because the people who speak the related languages already speak Georgian. Heaven's Gate. There's some 90s nostalgia. How is that shit not a meme? How is the Heaven's Gate guy not a meme?
33 letters and exactly 33 sounds to match those letters. There's no weird changing vowels like French. Sound promising? Well, if you think your vocal cords can take the abuse, well, try it out.
Yeah, this guy has... apparently he's like some sort of a Peace Corps volunteer in Georgia. And so he has one of the more sort of in-depth Georgian for learners channels, although it's all very much... And not this guy. This guy isn't the cult leader. I mean, I guess unless you consider the Peace Corps to be a cult, which... But no, he's a guy who's with the Peace Corps in Georgia.
which huti, kepa.
The sound is called an ejective consonant, and you will find it in the Caucasian languages. Super hard to learn. And the winner, of course, for today is, well, it's Georgian.
Khwavi, khwas, krantalebso, alebso, horani ki ajavrebso.
ყვავი ყვაყვას ყრანტალებსო, ყორანი კი აჯავრებსო. ყვავი ყვაყვას ყრანტალებსო, ყორანი კი აჯავრებსო.
But that's not the only crafty sound.
Although I will note, there is some... I have noticed a shifting with the V sound in Georgian, where when it is preceded by certain consonants, it almost seems to shift into more of a W-y sound.
Yat-a, it-a. Georgian has quite a lot of letters like this, quite similar to a glottal stop, and to get it right, you need pretty precise coordination. It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, there is like an audible pause when these letters precede a vowel. There is a very short but definitely audible pause.
How's your larynx getting on?
Armueba. Armuebis sashwalebeba. The means of production.
Well, I hope you've been warming up nicely, because here comes trouble. It's the language with the most sounds of any language on earth. The hard...
We watched it, I think...
The most bizarre, the most loudest, the most important... Just give us a drum roll. Close your eyes so you can listen. There's a little pronunciation trick here. Where in the world are we now? Anybody?
South Africa, Botswana, and Namibia.
No? Well, open your eyes and look at this word. See the exclamation marks? This is not punctuation here. These are sounds, and they're absolutely brilliant. They allow you to pack an absolute boatload of information into small words. Yeah, I am speechless too. My brain does not want to accept this is human language. Parents, if you are looking for baby names...
I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I'm going to write it out in chat.
We'll try these.
Coco.
Coco.
So what's the country and what's the language? Well, if you're guessing somewhere in Africa, you're absolutely right. Africa has some pretty wild sounds. One of the rarest sounds in the world sounds a little bit like a kiss.
To make it, speakers close their tongue.
We're back to native lang, because of course native lang has done something on this. This is prime language nerd territory, because this cluster of languages, what is often like sort of imprecisely called the Khoisan languages, we've looked at some stuff about them on stream, has the highest click density of basically any languages in the world. Like nobody does clicks like they do, to the extent that their punctuation marks have to be like press-ganged into providing phonetic information just to provide all the information. Yeah, native lang rocks. This is a native lang stan channel.
Tongue against the back of the mouth, and also close both lips, but don't purse them. 2 closures. Then, using the tongue, they suck a pocket of air into that enclosed area. Finally, they let go of the lips, and out pops a...
You've probably heard about these famous clicking sounds in some African language, but none can compare with Khoisan languages. Nobody knows exactly how many clicks they have, but it's a lot. This is the Ta language of Botswana and Namibia.
Yes, and I bet we're going to see some footage from the video. We watched a video on this like a couple of months ago by I'm Sean Get Off My Lawn.
From the first people of Southern Africa. It has more than two...
Yeah, polypersonal verbs. It's an interesting collection of languages that have them. Georgian is one. Then you go all the way over to the Basque Country. And, I mean, I guess you could actually say on a certain level that, like, some of the Bantu languages do something similar, though I don't know if it's considered polypersonality. But yeah, like Georgian, one of the main complications, apart from just pronouncing the fucking thing, in Georgian, is that the verbs behave differently. They are inflected not just for who's doing the thing, when it was done, and all that stuff. They're also inflected for who the thing's being done to, the directionality of it. So you will have, and all of this information gets stuck on the beginning of the verb. So, I mean, so you'll have like, Ganda. Ganda, I don't know. Okay. Spoken in, part of Uganda. Okay.
200 different sounds. You know how many English has? 44. And because of all those clicks, adults actually grow a lump on their larynx. And now a sneaky bonus and your ultimate test, even harder than a click.
I somehow misunderstood and got the impression he was talking about Georgian when he said that, which I could entirely believe.
If you want to get some weird looks, well, here's a sound that you can easily do, but I'm warning you, there is a very weird twist here. Little does Brittany know that she's doing something extremely rare in languages here, but it actually really exists in some oceanic languages. And if you want a challenge that will completely drive you insane, totally bonkers actually, because it should be impossible, now just add a trill to the Brittany L. Not possible for me. If you can make that sound, I think you win the entire internet. And now that you're all experts on impossible sounds, are you ready for entirely impossible languages? Because there's more absurdity out there than just pronunciation.
Okay. That was interesting. Let me see. We get something short. We haven't got a whole lot of time left. It's going to be time to wrap up fairly soon. Okay, we're gonna, since we're already ended up in Southern Africa.
Hallo, ek is Edie. Welkom by.
So we're gonna look at, this is Afrikaans expressions. I like Afrikaans, it's a neat language. I talk a lot about Afrikaans on here. It is in many ways sort of South African Yiddish. And this is E.T. and this is just, most of the stuff that I find on here, most of the stuff I look at, it's just stuff that shows up in YouTube Recs. And she showed up in my YouTube Recs, like last week or something.
My kanaal waar ons als saam doen. Nog gesegdes, nog gesegdes, nog gesegdes. Number 1. Alles vir soetkoek opvreet.
To eat everything up as if it is sweet cake.
Alles vir soetkoek opvreet. That simply means a person that believes everything he or she reads or hears without questioning anything, without asking a second opinion. They just believe what they see and hear. And the example there, jy weet, sy vreet als wat hy sê vir soetkoek op. And that means you know that she believes.
See, one of the things that makes Afrikaans a pretty easy one to work with as a learner is you don't have to worry about verb conjugations. Like, you don't even have to worry for the most part about tense. because there are not even many verbs that actually change for tense. Which is why if you read like Afrikaans novels, which I do a fair bit of, the novels are always just written in the present tense, because there really isn't. There are only a few words that do a past tense, like wees, which is to be, becomes was, and dink, to think, becomes doch, will, wou, and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's just the same. There's like a past perfect.
Believes everything he says without questioning anything. Nummer 2.
Iets uit je duimzeig. Which is interesting. This exists in German. Aus den Fingern, etwas aus den Fingern saugen. It means just to make shit up. To suck it out of your fingers.
Iets uit jou duim suig. Iets uit jou duim suig. That means to make up a story.
Sy het daai verhaal uit haar duim gesuig.
So the example down there is, sy het daai verhaal uit haar duim gesuig. Sy het daai verhaal uit haar duim gesuig. And that means she made up that story. 'n stokkie steek voor. 'n stokkie steek voor. A stokkie is a stick. And
this is another one that actually has a direct German equivalent. Ein Riegel vorschieben.
And voor in this case means in front of. The meaning translation is to stop something from happening or to put a stop to something that is already happening. The example down there, ek gaan 'n stokkie steek voor sy planne om 'n Mercedes te koop. Ek gaan 'n stokkie steek.
Notice the long O in Afrikaans, unlike Dutch, is a little bit like a Brooklyn O.
Voor sy planne om 'n Mercedes te koop. And that means I'm going to put a stop to his plans to buy a Mercedes. Number 4. Wit voetjie soek. Wit voetjie soek. Wit.
To look for a little white foot.
Voetjie means white foot. White small foot.
Which, now I'm kind of curious, where does this come from? Archaïsche Afrikaanse uitdrukkings is cool. Terms uitreig in je spoor. Ja, maar waar komt dit vandaan? Okay. What I'm finding from this is that nobody has actually seems to have written up where this comes from.
Well, and soek means to seek. But you can't use that in any way in the direct translation. The meaning of this is to curry favor. When you are almost desperately trying to win somebody's favor. The word in Afrikaans that is very popular that we use is gatkruip.
To like crawl up a hole.
Gatkruip. Directly translated, that means hole crawl.
Yeah. Yeah, in this case it is a very specific hole that we're talking about.
You can imagine. Gatkruip is the word you're looking for, and that's the one we use every day.
And for like insults, gat is a very productive suffix. You can stick it on just about any like insulting term. Like the word for like a term for like cops in Afrikaans is blauwgat, which literally means blue hole. Like a windgat, a wind hole is an asshole. Well, one of various ways of saying asshole. Then actually blauwgat ends up finding its way over into Tsotsi-taal, where the word for the cops is amagata. They just take the gat as in hole, And
in general conversation, when you're referring to somebody desperately seeking attention or want to curry favor, then that's the one we use. Wit voetjie soek is much less used. Maybe the older generation will use it more, but gatkruip, that's the one. One word. The example there, hy het wit voetjie gesoek by sy onderwyser. Maar dit het hom niks gehelp nie. Hy het wit
niks gehelp nie, because one of the things you do have to get used to in Afrikaans, especially if you start out from the perspective of Dutch, is Afrikaans has obligate double negation. So dit het hom niks gehelp nie. You have to have that second nie there. You can't say niks gehelp.
Voetjie gesoek by sy onderwyser, maar dit het hom niks gehelp nie. It means he tried to curry favor with his teacher, but the attempt failed. It helped him just absolutely in no way. Number 5. Die sieke dra die gesonde. Die sieke dra die gesonde. Sieke means the sick one.
Dis kapitalisme op Afrikaans.
Gesonde means the healthy one. The meaning translation there is the weaker person supports the stronger individual. So it's when the less fortunate supports those who are fortunate. And I'm sure you can think of a situation where this is applicable. The example is when in conversation and you are in a situation that applies to this, you'll just simply say, die sieke dra die gesonde alweer. Meaning, you know,
once again,
person who has already got so much less and who's struggling in so many more ways are now supporting that individual who are so fortunate and who does not at all struggle in the ways that the one who's supporting him or her is struggling. That's one way to use it. Kop in een mus wees. Kop in een mus wees. Now, head or kop means head, and mus refers to a beanie or a cap.
Yeah, so heads in the same hat.
So, to be heads in one cap.
The ANC and the DA is kop in een mus.
Don't use it in English. Alright, so the meaning is to be in cahoots with someone. When people plan some nefarious deeds together, like robbing a bank, then that is...
That isn't nefarious. It depends what you do after you succeed.
En een mus wees. The example is, daai twee is kop en een mus. And it just simply means those two are together in this nefarious plan. They are in this together, they planned it together. Number 7, hoog in die takke wees. Hoog in die takke wees.
Yeah.
Hoog means high, and takke refers to branches, so it's being high in the branches.
Yeah, off your face.
Not ever used in English. Right, so that just simply means somebody's drunk. And the example, hy is hoog in die takke. Hy is hoog in die takke, which means he is drunk. Number 8, so skaars soos hoendertande. So skaars soos hoendertande.
As chicken's
Scarce
teeth.
is the word for scarce or rare. And hoendertande is chicken teeth. As scarce as chicken teeth or as rare as chicken teeth.
Okay, and now it is time for me to wrap up. Thank you to everyone who joined in. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I will be back on Twitch tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. US Eastern Time. And I hope to see you there. Now it is time for me to go and eat dinner foods or figure out what I'm going to do dinner food wise. Have